Hello, I'm Curly Bonds, and I'm sorry that I'm not able to be there to celebrate Cara's life with you all. Cara and I attended Emory together and trailed behind her by a year, but we also shared a hometown in common. And we first connected when she learned that someone else from Mobile, Alabama would be attending Emory U. She immediately reached out to share all of her bits of wisdom with both me and my mother. And one of her favorite stories was how we asked whether or not I had to bring my own pillow. Well, that was only the beginning of her sharing her brilliance with me. I did take a pillow and was glad that I knew that I had to. But as I've been saddened and shocked by her untimely passing, I've been able to console myself by thinking about some of the many zany adventures that we had and the good times that we shared, both in Atlanta and when we meet up during holidays down in Mobile. Of course, one that really stands out is the Ginkgo Vigil. For those of you who were lucky enough to be there, you know that Cart educated us that the legend was that the ginkgo tree would lose all of its leaves at one time, and that if you were fortunate enough to be there to behold this sight, that you would have enormous good luck and great fortune. What I didn't know at the time was that the good fortune was knowing Cara. Having someone who was so generous and so kind and so giving enrich my life was a treasure beyond belief. We are both people of faith, and I'm certain that our paths will cross again. Godspeed to Cara and all of you.
Good afternoon. My name is Gary Davison, and I am I'm the principal at Lambert High School. And Cara and I had the privilege of serving together at both Lambert High School and Woody High Schools. And her impact has been huge on myself and many others. When I think of Cara, I think of Colossians 3:12 and 13. Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other. As the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive. Cara was continually flexible, detail-oriented, patient, intuitive, honestly kind, funny, loving, and wickedly smart. At Lambert, most recently, Cara showed that she loved every single kid. Didn't matter if they were her students or not, she loved them all, every single one of them. Most recently, we have a dog program at school with several therapy dogs, and she would just absolutely love the dogs. And whenever the dogs came around, it was just her best friend at the time. And she never gave up on any kid. Even if they were not her student, she went out of her way to help any student who needed help academically, socially, in any way possible. Even the students that gave up on themselves, she never gave up on them. And sometimes the students would say, what is this lady trying to help me for? I can't do this. She would continually say, you're better than that. You're more worthy than that. And that was just a mantra of what she would do with kids. I remember a story most recently, 2 years ago. We were standing in the hall one day. In the morning, I stand in this one particular place, and one of the therapy dogs came up, and we had a chance to sit there and talk and pet the dog, and Cara came by, and this young lady came by, and she was very tentative and very scared of the dog, but she really wanted to pet the dog. So Cara went out of her way and took the girl's hand, bent down, and helped the girl come to ease with the dog. And the girl, you could see it just melted away. The fear and anxiety and everything just melted away. And they didn't know each other either. They did not know each other. And so she eased the young lady by helping her. They both smiled, and Cara went on about her day to get ready for class, and the girl just was beaming. One morning after that, the girl was very eager, and she was never afraid again to pet the dog. Fast forward about 2 months, and this particular girl was in a full-blown panic attack. She was having a real crisis that day. She was truly inconsolable and sought out the aid of one of the dogs, that particular dog that Cara had helped her with. After coming through her panic attack and having a chance to talk to her afterwards, the girl said to me, that nice lady helped me to trust again. No one else could do that for me. That was Cara Bryant.
Well, I'm not in the program. Too late. Okay. Gee. My name is Andrea, and I was one of her former students at Bayside, excuse me, at Bayside in Alabama. Well, I'll say this and then I'll get down. I asked her one time, very recently what one of her songs that she liked. And she said, Amazing Grace.
Hi, I'm David Hawes, and this is Anna Lott, and we're friends of Cara's, longtime friends. In the mid-1900s, the famous Irish poet William Butler Yeats was beautifully memorialized by another famous poet, W.H. Auden. I love the poem, which opens by describing how bleak the weather was on the day that Yeats died. Everything frozen in the dead gray of winter, lifeless. The implication, of course, is that even the earth is mourning the great poet's death. But as the grief-stricken world trudges on in the poem, we are told that in an act of kindness by the grieving public, the death of the poet was kept from his poems. As I process Kara's sudden absence from our lives, I keep thinking of that line. Yeats had his adoring poems. Kara had her friends, her students, her colleagues, her family, and a pack of fur babies, none of whom wanted to hear or believe the news of her passing. It is almost impossible for Anna and me to imagine a world without Kara Bryant in it. Anna met Kara in their first days at Emory in the now demolished McTeer Hall, and their lives have been delightfully entangled ever since. When Anna went to grad school in St. Louis, there was Kara, visiting regularly during breaks from her own grad studies at Duke. When Anna and I started dating and took one of our first trips to the South Alabama beach, there was Kara. When we went to New Orleans and ate slimy oysters and got way too drunk in the French Quarter, there was Kara. When we got married, when Anna got hired by the University of North Alabama, when we bought our first house, when we had our daughter, when our nephews from Texas came to live with us, when Anna was in the hospital for 6 weeks with a severe multiple sclerosis flare-up, when we moved back to Montevallo after Anna retired, when our daughter and nephews graduated, when we nursed Anna's father and mother through their end-of-life illnesses, there was Kara. Kara showed up for people, always. Look up reliable in the dictionary and don't be surprised to see Kara's picture there. As we gradually spread the sad news of Kara's passing, the most common reaction after "oh no" was something along the lines of, "Kara was one of my best friends." We were not surprised. Kara was smart, funny, witty, and sometimes obnoxiously snarky and sarcastic. But mostly, she was a natural caregiver with a huge heart. Kara let us know without fail that she was there for us. Her presence in our lives was so natural that we carried what we often call Kara's sleeping couch through 4 separate moves. She preferred the couch, even when we occasionally had an extra bed. "It's a good sleeping couch," she would say, and she would head off to get her own bedding from our closet, refusing any offers to help. "I'm family," she would say. She didn't want us to fuss over her. Once, Kara spent a weekend at our house in Florence, Alabama, when Anna was still teaching. On the way out of town on Monday morning, Kara somehow wrecked her car on a badly designed curve that led onto a bridge near our house. Her car hit a curb, crossed all 4 lanes on the bridge, rolled on its side, coming to rest facing back towards where she was coming from. A policeman was able to tip the car back onto its wheels, and Kara insisted to him that she could just drive it home. Luckily, he persuaded her to tow the car and call us for help. When I arrived to pick her up, she was an emotional wreck, shaking and crying as soon as I got close enough to hug her. That was maybe the only time I saw Kara when she wasn't completely in control of herself. But even in that state, she insisted that we not bother Anna about Kara's own near disaster until Anna was done teaching for the morning. Kara arranged to have some of her friends meet us halfway to Atlanta to take her the rest of the way home, if we could get her to the meeting point. And as fate would have it, Anna was already scheduled that afternoon to get a monthly infusion for her MS at UAB Hospital in Birmingham, which was about halfway to Atlanta. Anna was late to her appointment, which wasn't necessarily unusual, but Kara took great delight in immediately taking the blame for Anna's tardiness, telling Anna's annoyed nurse that Anna was late only because Kara had flipped her car on a bridge just a few hours ago. As fate would also have it, Kara had driven to Florence that weekend in her SUV instead of her toy convertible Mustang because she was giving us a huge fish tank, and it couldn't fit in the convertible. She noted the irony almost as soon as I picked her up from the accident scene. Bringing us the fish tank kept her safe. She shuddered to think about what would have happened had she flipped while driving the convertible. And that fish tank became a focal point for years of future visits, mostly because it was my responsibility to keep the fish alive. As time passed, I got worse and worse at my job, and it became a sort of running joke. Cara inevitably would arrive for a visit, make her usual greetings, always with coffee, sometimes with donuts or cake or biscuits, but always with coffee, and then almost immediately announce that she and Anna and whichever kids wanted to tag along would be going, without me, on a restocking run to the fish store. And how many fish did I need this time? One of the fish who did thrive in the tank was a big algae eater, almost a foot long, who lived for 7 or 8 years. His name was Gaius, and we were sad when he died. The tank seemed empty without him, and Cara soon brought us another one. We named him Gaius Secundus because, you know, Cara and Latin and all. You might have noticed that some of our programs say, and our part of the program say An-a-Lot with David Hawes, and some say An-a-Lot and David Hawes. We debated about what it should say, and apparently some of them got printed with both ways, but I think I prefer the one that says An-a-Lot with David Hawes, because although I met Cara not long after I met Anna, Anna and Cara were extraordinary friends. And I've just been lucky enough, to go along for the ride. Anna would have loved to give this entire talk by herself in celebration of Cara's life, but her MS makes that difficult. Still, there is no way that Anna would miss this chance to honor her friend, so we'll let her finish. This microphone in here. Go ahead.
Okay. This is a coda. The children's book, Charlotte's Web, has always been one of my favorites, and it's one of the stories that comes to mind when I think of Cara's passing. As a coda to what we've already said about her, I would like to add the final paragraph of Charlotte's Web in Cara's honor. Oprah never forgot Charlotte. Although he loved her children and grandchildren dearly, none of the news fighters quite took her place in his heart. She was in a class by herself. It's not often that someone comes along who is both a true friend and a good writer. Charlotte was both. We love you, Cara. Thanks for being a wonderful friend.
My name is Polly Price. I was one of Cara's roommates senior year of college, and for the next 35 years, I have introduced her as my college roommate. And like many of the college classmates who are here, we've been friends for 40 years. And I think she was the best of all of us. I'm not putting down any of you all, but she really was. One of my favorite stories from senior year, one of the favorite stories that I can tell is Cara introduced me to Ann and Bob Hartle and their son Bobby, who at the time was 4 years old, and I became an assistant babysitter, and that, of course, launched another lifelong friendship. But Bobby, at age 4, believed that Cara and I were sisters because we lived together, and I think that made a lot of sense. We were sisters in many, many ways, but I'm so happy that her family, so many of her family could be here. Would you mind standing so that when we go to the reception, people will know who you are? There's a lot of people here who want to share our love for Cara with you. If you wouldn't mind just standing briefly. I knew I would get all of the names wrong. So we want to meet you at the reception, and I'm going to give you directions at the reception. Would you like to introduce Dominic? Is that?
This is my niece, Alex, Cara's niece. This is Cara's niece, Haley, my grandchild. Good friend of the family, Jalen, and this is Leah, another grandchild. This is my aunt, Angela Bryant, who, for the first time, I'm just meeting her. Go ahead and tell your story.
I'm Cara's cousin and high school classmate, Vicki Merriweather. And I'm another cousin, Luana here.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you to all of you for being here. I feel like she is my sister, but we wanted to thank you, her family, for giving her to us. Really loaning her to us. We really are only loaned to each other for a short time, but I'm just so happy that you could be here. I think of her also in terms of family. She, after all, went to Arkansas to meet my family, not once, but twice. Who does that? Who does that? Cara does that. Carol has done that too, but in any event, one time. But anyway, I am actually just here to officially end the program and invite you to the reception downstairs. The slides and pictures will be playing downstairs much more slowly so that in the background while we talk, you can take a look at those. But before you go, one last thing. As many of you know, Cara would break out in song at all sorts of occasions. Usually they were not the original lyrics to that song. Some were racy, some were mostly cynical, or some were punny. Let me just give you an example. So this is very recent, in fact. We were talking about dogs, and I happen to have had in the past larger breeds than Cara has had, and I said, I like big dogs. So here goes Cara. I like big dogs and I cannot lie. So if you know that song, anyway, we've sung together and completed each other's songs ever since that senior year of college. She taught me to sing. She taught me to keep a song in my heart and laughter at the ready. She made me a better person. And as you leave, and again, the reception is just downstairs. You just go to the right and down the stairs, and then a nice reception there. I hope that we all get a chance to visit with each other. As you leave, one of her favorite songs is going to be playing. So this is a sing-along, sing and walk. If you don't know the words, you can whistle at the appropriate part. But this was one of her favorite songs from that year, and we sang it as recently as actually throughout the pandemic. So thank you again for being here, and I'll see you at the reception. Yes, of course. Yes.
Sorry to keep going. Okay, I'm Robin Aparicio, and I was good friends with Cara. I thought I was her best friend, but apparently I'm not. I've got to take a number. I told her always, I know I can't pass by Polly and Ann, but I'll take third place. It's okay. And she would make it sound like I was her best friend, and that's the way we were for years. I taught with her at Dunwoody, and I know that right now she is laughing at me and Marge. I just know it because we decided we would come. We didn't know where we were going, and we decided we would come up the hill. I mean, a hill like this, and you know, I have a knee replacement and not very good, not very athletic, okay? So we kept sliding down the hill, and that's why I've got mud on my feet and my pants and my behind, I think. So I know she's laughing at that. And I want to say, David, I think that, I know that my husband and I were the ones that came to pick Cara up. Oh. And we didn't meet somewhere, we went to your house. I really thought we went to the house, but you know, I don't have a good memory either, so maybe we did meet her, but she called and said, will we come? And I said, sure. Yeah. Well, you know, she was very shaken up, even on the way back, but we always laughed so much. We managed to get her laughing, you know, and, You never mentioned it again. No, she didn't. And, I thought maybe it was another wreck, though, because you said they met halfway, and I knew we went to your house, and I thought, I don't remember that she had another wreck. But she was so caring and loving, as you guys have said, and she would just do, you know, the sweetest things for me and for my husband. And one time, I don't remember what the operation was, but we had to be at Northside Hospital at 6 a.m., and she said she would take me, and I couldn't wear any makeup, and nobody had ever seen me without makeup, not even my husband. And we kind of made fun of that for a while. I told her how scary it was, and we just laughed and giggled for an hour. And there was a lady sitting across from us just watching us, and she said, it must be great to have friends like that you could laugh and carry on, because we got so silly, you know, and we're so scatterbrained in a way. I mean, she's very intelligent, don't get me wrong, but we go from one thing to another, and she would tell me something, and I would interrupt, and then we'd get back to what she was saying, and I said, you know, I'm sorry about this. She said, oh, I know, it's just the way we are, you know, and she was just great. She'd come, I live in Jasper, and she would come up a few times and spend the night and bring bugs with her, not bugs, but Bugsy, you know. And sometimes she would have to grade paper. I said, if you come up, I'll pamper you, I promise, just to get her up there, my third best friend, or and so if you would just come up, I'll pamper you, and if you got to grade papers, I'll be quiet. Of course, that didn't happen. I talked the whole time to her, and one night she spent the night, and we just had a great time. And I read something one time that said, if you really, really loved someone and they passed, what does the love do? It becomes grief. And in some ways, I agree with that. It is grief that we're going through right now. And eventually, though, that's going to lighten up, but we'll never stop loving her, of course. And I know for sure the success that she was in life with everything she did and everybody she loved and cared for, that the pearly gates are opening up and she's going in, and God's going to say, I am so glad you're here. I needed another angel. And she's going to be there looking down on us. Or at night when we look up and we see a bright star, I think that's going to be her saying hi. And I want to close with this. This is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. And that's what she did. Thank you.